Let's talk FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. When it comes to paying for college, this is one of the most important, most basic steps for families. And pretty much 99.999% of families need to submit this form. There are very few situations where we would ever say not to fill out this form. It is crucial because it determines your family's need and eligibility for federal grants, for work study, federal student loans, not to mention state aid and institutional aid. So even if your student doesn't get money because of your financial background, it still opens up the doors to money through universities. So we want to make sure that your family is maximizing this form and this aid. And in order to do so, it is essential that you understand how FAFSA works, what the process is, and how to file FAFSA correctly. We will also give you some strategies to make sure you are being strategic throughout this process to maximize that financial aid. Now, make sure you hit subscribe because every week we have a new strategy for your family to work towards a debt-free education. Hey there, my name is Jocelyn Pearson, founder of the Scholarship System and Debt-Free Degree Lab, where we redefine paying for college to help families build strong financial futures rather than ones with decades of student loan debt. Now, this is focused on U.S. citizens and permanent residents, not international students. So first off, let's talk about what we need to do to fill out FAFSA. It might seem complicated, but it has gotten easier in recent years, despite the government's hiccups with the actual form itself. But as far as how many questions we have to answer, that is drastically reduced from in the past, and it gets easier each year in theory. First and foremost, we want to gather any documents that are necessary. This could be things like social security numbers of student and parents, driver's license numbers, federal tax information or tax returns from prior tax year, so from 2 years ago. So for example, the 2025-2026 school year will refer to the 2023 tax forms. Any untaxed income records, this would be things like child support or interest income, and then any balances on cash, savings, investment accounts, any kind of assets. Collecting all this ahead of time will make the submitting a lot faster. Next is to create an FSA ID. So you'd go to fsaid.ed.gov. We'll put that link in the description. But you want to create a federal student aid ID. Now, there should be one for each student that's going to college and the parent. What this does is it allows your family to electronically sign the form. That way you can access this federal information without going through a ton of hoops. Next, we want to complete the FAFSA online. This is a .gov website. Other websites do pop up that are .coms where they're trying to charge fees. The FAFSA is free. It is a government-based form and it is free. So you go to fafsa.gov and then enter your personal information. This will be students' and parents' demographics. And then you can use the IRS data retrieval tool. This will pull automatically the tax information for you. So it tries to make it as easy as possible. It'll then ask for your family's assets and information that is not on tax forms. Next step is listing colleges that your student's considering. You can include up to 10 on FAFSA. Listing schools does not commit any student in any way, but it at least ensures that they receive your student's financial information. And that way, if your student does decide to go there, they will already have the financial aid information. They can already have a financial aid package, and you and your student can know what is this school going to cost us? Lastly is signing and submitting. So we want to make sure that we have submitted this with the utmost accuracy so that we can avoid having to redo it and causing delays. Both the student and the parent must sign this. Again, that'll be electronically with the FSA IDs. Ideally, we want to submit this as soon as possible as the forms opened. For the 2024-2025 school year, they are opening it up October 1st, which is the normal opening date, but they're slowly rolling it out so that they can find the errors without everyone doing it at the same time. So you might be part of a slow rollout, but typically the opening date is October 1st. So we want to submit it as close to that as we can. But I personally like waiting maybe a month, maybe 2 weeks, 4 weeks. That way, a lot of those kinks can get worked out. So don't feel like you have to get this submitted on October 1st. Within a month or so is totally fine, but do not wait until spring semester because some money is first come, first serve. Also, you will want to look at the university's deadlines. They have their own that are a lot earlier than the federal deadline for submitting FAFSA. All right, let's talk about some quick tips to maximize that aid by submitting this form. First is file early, like I just mentioned. Some of the money might be first come, first served, depending on the state funding or the universities. Second is to understand dependency status. It is honestly very rare that a student is truly considered independent, even if the parent is not supporting them, unfortunately. They have very clear guidelines on who they consider to be independent. For the most part, a student will be dependent. Third is to minimize reportable assets. So say you plan on making a big purchase and it will drastically reduce your cash balance. Ideally, we want to do that prior to submitting FAFSA, or if we're contributing to our retirement account. Again, if we can do that before submitting FAFSA, things that reduce our assets that are reportable but can go elsewhere to help us. Of course, we don't want to just buy things just to do this. Next is to use that data retrieval tool from the IRS. That will help decrease processing time, decrease the chances for errors, and it also decreases the likelihood of being checked for verification, which is where they make you go through this whole process to verify that everything is true and accurate. Next is to appeal for more aid. This is all about trying to get more money. So if your financial situation does not match 2 years ago, which for many people it doesn't, then you can absolutely ask for more money. This is done not through FAFSA's site, but actually through the specific universities your student's applying to. If you're a member of Debt Free Degree Lab, we have an entire lesson all about the financial aid appeal process. You can learn more at thescholarshipsystem.com/DFD. for debt-free degree. And beyond getting more money through the financial aid package, we of course do not want to forget about scholarships. This your student can be eligible for regardless of their FAFSA results. So if you want to learn my 6 steps on how I received 6 figures in scholarships and how we've helped families get over $13 million, you can go to thescholarshipsystem.com/free webinar or click the video here. We'll also put the link in the description, but check out that free webinar to help you and your student really get your feet wet when it comes to securing scholarships that are less competitive, but actually legitimate. Last but not least is to consider those deadlines. Again, like I mentioned, different states have different deadlines, different colleges have different deadlines. We want to make sure we are aware of all of those. I've seen students miss deadlines for FAFSA and the school did not let them submit it after the fact and consider them for the packages that they would have received. It was heartbreaking and literally changed the college's options that this student had. Now, I have an entire YouTube video all about FAFSA deadlines, so you can click on that here, or you can find the link in the description as well. Last but not least, we actually have an entire FAFSA playlist all about the different types of monies, how it works, ways to maximize it. We have tons of videos about FAFSA, so we will also link to that in the description. Now, comment below, has your family filed it before? Is this your first time? Are you afraid of it, or do you think it's easy? Let me know in the comments how you're feeling about FAFSA. I would love to know. I'm sure a lot of people will have some complaints this year, just like they did last. Okay, so that said, filing FAFSA is critical for all families. Even if your family doesn't necessarily qualify for federal grants, for the Pell Grants, maybe your family makes more than the amount, but it still opens up the doors to other funding through the states, through the institutions, the colleges. So no matter what, do not listen to the neighbor if they say, oh, you make too much money, it's not worth your time. No, always, always, always submit this, and we submit it every single year while your student is in college. Again, it's based on prior tax years, so there are lots of strategies here. In fact, some of the strategies start as early as sophomore year in high school for your students. So that's the kind of thing that we talk about in Debt Free Degree Lab, where we can really be strategic to try to increase our money for college. Again, all the links are in the description below for the free webinar, for Debt Free Degree Lab, for the playlist. So check it out. And I hope that you hit subscribe because I have a new strategy for you and your family every single week. I'll see you in the next video.